Before dawn breaks, the villagers of Abernethy stand bundled on the rocky shore of Lough Glass, faces pale with anticipation. At the water's edge, in the haze, a figure emerges, pale, humanoid, with eyes that glow like embers in frost. Some swear they see it standing knee-deep, staring at them, silent and unmoving, before vanishing into the mist as the first light hits the surface. Others claim it rides a spectral horse, its hooves splashing without a sound, disappearing just as the mist clears. They call it Glashtin, the ghost of the loch. Tonight, we explore why this ancient phantom haunts the Highlands, and what its legend can teach us about history, fear, and the power of a story passed through millennia. The first recorded mention of Glashtin appears in a 12th century Gaelic manuscript housed at Fortrose Abbey, though some fragmentary folios dating to the 9th century hint at even older origins. According to these texts, Glashtin was once a young chieftain exiled for an unpardonable crime, murdering a rival under sacred oak trees. His soul, they say, could not rest, so he haunts Lough Glass each new moon, seeking redemption or revenge. But the accounts conflict. One villager's great-grandfather insisted it was a water kobold, luring fishermen to drown. Another swears it was a banshee, wailing across the cliffs. Which version is true? And how did a single specter become so many things to so many people? The mystery deepens when modern sightings don't match any one legend, suggesting something far stranger lurks beneath the ripples. In 1294, chronicler Simon of Dunkeld wrote of a pale rider by the loch's edge, sometimes clothed in tatters, other times in the finery of an ancient lord. His eyes burned like hot coals. That same century, a fisherman named Ewan MacLeod recorded 3 nights of sightings in his diary. He stands by the moonlit waves, body shimmering like dew, saw him step over the water as though it were solid ground. By the 15th century, accounts mention a phantom horse whose breath froze the night air, carrying the headless form of a chieftain. Even royal household records reference the curse of Lough Glass, preventing kings from fishing there. These early testimonies reveal a pattern. Glashtin appears only during a new moon's second hour, when darkness is deepest. Each piece of lore raises more questions than answers. Perched on a hill overlooking Lough Glass, the ruins of Dun Glashtin once housed a Pictish stronghold. Excavations in the 1950s uncovered fragments of pottery and iron weaponry dated between 600–800 CE. But more intriguing was a blood-red cairn found just outside the walls, covered in Ogham inscriptions invoking the name Glashtin, alongside symbols of water and wolves. Folklorist Fiona McCormack, studying the site in 1987, proposed that the cairn marked a sacrificial altar, perhaps the place where the chieftain's body was desecrated. Nearby, hidden among tree roots, archaeologists discovered a crude wooden coffin, long since rotten, with nails matching those used in medieval Pictish burials. Could this be the original resting place of the man we now call Glashtin? If so, why did local tradition shift from funerary rites to ghost stories? And what role did the Picts' own spiritual beliefs play in feeding the legend? Several scientists suggest Glashtin sightings stem from infrasound, subsonic sound waves below human hearing, produced by oscillating winds against the loch's cliffs. Infrasound can induce nausea, anxiety, and hallucinations. At Lough Glass, late-night winds funnel through a narrow valley, creating eerie low-frequency hums. Coupled with the natural bioluminescence of algae, the loch's surface can appear to glow, making ordinary ripples look like a phantom rising from the depths. During the new moon, darkness heightens human visual exaggeration, and plasma from sporadic electrical discharges can produce ball lightning, floating orbs that locals claim are Glashtin's eyes. Yet these phenomena alone cannot account for consistent patterns. Eyewitnesses report distinct shapes, a man in armor or a headless rider, too detailed for pure pareidolia. So while science offers plausible triggers, it fails to explain why every century yields the same narrative trope. Folklorist Marjorie Blackwood argues that Glashtin's story evolved as a cautionary tale, a means to keep trespassers off sacred ground. Oral traditions shape and reshape details. In one version, Glashtin punishes poachers. In another, he guides lost travelers to safety. Meanwhile, archaeologists uncovered a series of subterranean tunnels beneath Dun Glashtin, likely used for smuggling or secret rituals. Carbon dating places their construction in the 9th century, centuries after the supposed death of the chieftain. Could these passages have given birth to rumors of ghostly figures disappearing below the earth? And why did villagers burn ritual offerings, animal bones and iron trinkets, near these entrances until the early 1900s. The intersection of folklore and physical evidence reveals an interplay between human need for meaning and the impulse to explain the unexplained with stories. In 2002, a local reporter captured what appeared to be a tall, pale figure walking across loft glass in night vision video. The footage went viral, sparking documentaries and paranormal tours. Sociologist Dr. Ian Duncan, studying the phenomenon, noted that confirmation bias played a role. Once villagers expected to see Glashtin, they often misinterpreted logs, drifting fog, or distant reflections from car headlights. Still, dozens of visitors reported strange electromagnetic anomalies on their smartphones. Fluctuating GPS readings, compass needles spinning, leading some to believe the ruins generate a localized geomagnetic field that affects electronics. Ghost hunters set up EMF detectors and recorded spikes near the cairn at midnight. Skeptics argue these are natural magnetic shifts in the bedrock. Believers see them as traces of an otherworldly presence. Why do modern technologies both demystify and perpetuate the legend? And do these digital evidences bring us closer to the truth, or merely another layer of myth? In 2018, a multidisciplinary team led by Dr. Aileen Fraser discovered a hidden chamber beneath the blood-red cairn at Glashtin. Inside lay engraved stones depicting a triad of figures: a warrior, a druid, and a water spirit. Radiocarbon dating of charcoal residues suggests ritual fires burned here as late as the 13th century. Among the finds, fragments of a bronze torch, ornately twisted metal, matched to other Celtic artifacts found along the River Tay, indicating a network of Pictish Gaelic alliances. These clues point to a ceremony honoring a chieftain killed in battle on the loch's frozen surface. His body perhaps laid to rest in the cairn. Could the ghostly sightings be a collective memory of that ritual, encoded in the landscape? If so, Glashtin's tale is not just myth. It's a palimpsest of real events, beliefs, and political alliances lost to time. Using ground-penetrating radar and dendrochronology, researchers in 2020 confirmed that the frozen loch's ice was thin enough in January 712 CE to trap an overloaded steed bearing a chieftain returning from a raid. His body sank into the muck, then was recovered by villagers who built the cairn in his honor. Over generations, the chieftain's name faded, but his tragic death, riding straight into an icy grave, lived on in oral tradition. And when the loch's surface froze most years, villagers glimpsed phantom hoofprints on thin ice, perfectly preserving the outline of a rider's boot. Those impressions, visible only at dawn's first light, spawned tales of a headless horseman emerging from the mist. The climax: Glashtin is not a wandering spirit, but a cultural echo of a real man's death, preserved by unique environmental conditions and transformed by centuries of storytelling. Here's the twist: the ghost wasn't summoned by curses or banshee wails. It was nature and memory intertwined. The same frost that claimed the chieftain's life created a mirror for his legend each winter. Waters steeped in iron-rich peat give the loch its deep green hue, hence glaus, meaning green in Gaelic, while seasonal mists and infrasound weave illusions at the shoreline. Unlike many tales that vanish with time, Glashtin's story survived because it served a purpose: binding communities to sacred ground, warning of hidden ice, and reminding descendants of a forgotten past. By unearthing archaeology, chemistry, and folklore side by side, we see that sometimes the most terrifying specter is history itself, refusing to be forgotten. A weathered parchment map showing Lough Glass and Glashtin crumbles in the wind. Its fragments swirl like dust motes, then coalesce into a bright red subscribe button. Don't let our shared past slip into darkness. Subscribe for more before the next story fades.